Well, it's interesting that that was the topic of the panel because I feel like it's more like television is just transforming on its own just because of technology, and how people watch TV and what's considered television. And I think in some ways we're all trying to keep up with that, how, there's so many different kinds of audiences that it's sort of fractured. It's no longer one big, sort of broadcast audience anymore. So it's about, knowing that we have to make different kinds of shows for these audiences, for different platforms. You make, a show a little bit differently for a, sort of an SVOD platform like a Netflix or, where people can binge your show, one episode after the other, than you would for, a broadcast. So I think, we're all trying to keep up because it's moving so quickly. And I think that's, thanks to technology. I mean, it's amazing. We have shows, Universal Television produces The Office, and, how many years has The Office been off the air? But The Office is a huge show, on those platforms, and you have an entirely new generation of people finding The Office, and for them it's a brand new show. I hear stories around The Office where someone will tell me that their 12 or 13-year-old came up to them, I just found this amazing new show called The Office, or Parks and Rec. It's like, oh, that's nice, Well, I think the development process is the same. You're, talking about characters. Are you interested in those characters, and what's that, what's the world? I think drama is probably character as well as the premise of the show. I think character, if people love the characters, you can put them in all kinds of different situations. I mean, I think comedies tend to be less premise heavy, and you can say it's a comedy about a group of friends, and that's it. And you just want to watch what they're doing week after week. Versus in the drama, I think you have to craft a little bit more of that show. So I think those are the two, biggest differences. But, after that, you still have to be making a great show that people want to watch. Well, I always say to somebody, if you're pitching me a 1-hour drama, please don't pitch me in real time, you know? I think I think for the pitches that are not successful are the pitches that don't feel specific, that don't go into detail, where you can obviously tell that someone doesn't really know the details of their characters. Because, you want to hear enough to understand why this character is going to stand out in a very crowded landscape. What is it about their backstory? What is it that they want? And how are those things driving, the story? And sometimes I think people come in with a little bit of character, but a lot of plot. And, and that's all good and well, but if you're not interested in who that person is and what drives them, you don't really care what they're doing. So knowing your characters in detail, in depth, I think is key. I was just talking at the panel today that we're more and more open to, writers and voices that haven't traditionally been in the TV business. And I think in the last few years, I know there's a lot more playwrights who come into the TV business, or even novelists. We're working with all kinds of people. And I think we just have to be open to, someone who's never written for television before, people from features. I mean, obviously a lot of feature writers have come into the TV business. And I think we've all been open to, the avenues, by which we find all of that talent. People, we find people in these different sort of screenwriting competitions, suddenly, writers coming off of what they call the blacklist, I think everyone's looking at those, or be it all the different competitions at different festivals. I think everyone is just now aware that with so many different shows, there is a real hunger for new voices and original voices that they haven't heard before. So, if someone says they have a terrific writer, I will give them the benefit of the doubt and say, okay, let's see how good a writer they are.